What is going on, Clipper fans? It's Jonathan Timm back for another season of Muskegon Clipper baseball, and we're going to get our off-season content underway, or preseason content, if you will. The off-season is officially over because we got some Clippers suiting up to get their college season underway. And for you fans, I got a little treat today. I am joined by now in his fourth year as general manager of the Muskegon Clippers and former head coach and former Central Michigan baseball standout, Walt Gawkowski. Walt, thank you for joining me today. And the weather's not too great here in Wisconsin, and I can imagine it's a similar result on the other side of Lake Michigan.
It is, Jonathan. It is cold. The sun was out, but it's a little cloudy now. But you know what? It's always a great day to talk about baseball. So I appreciate the call and anxious to catch up with you.
All right, Walt. Well, let's start talking. Let's start this all right from the beginning. Talk about your role now as the general manager and what all the details are with your job, and inform the viewers, delight everyone what you
Yeah.
do with the
I
Clippers.
don't know if it's delightful, but it's. I said this several times. This is a very much a mom and pop organization. We do it largely with volunteers. My brother Pete and I. Um, and our extended family. I mean, that's what we do. Pete's son, Dan, as you well know, handles all the web page, all the social media. He's the photographer. His other son, Pete Jr., does the um, is the groundskeeper. And it just goes on and on. Jenny does just a little bit of everything. His daughter, my wife Jones, is a beer seller. Pete's wife, Becky, handles volunteers, and it goes on and on and on. But as far as a general manager's job, it's all encompassing. I mean, obviously, my primary role and the only one anybody would really notice would be putting the roster together. And that's a process that starts usually in late September, early October, and usually winds up right around Thanksgiving time. Although it's a very fluid type of thing. For example, we've already lost three pitchers that I had signed due to labrum injuries. So I'm still working on it. But that's probably the major role that I have. But yesterday I spent all day um, uh, hitting the bricks and visiting area businesses and trying to create some more sponsorship money. That's always an ongoing project because we never quite have enough resources to do what we want to do. So that's a part of it. Usually, I'm there on game days to obviously all throughout the game, but I'm there early. I usually help a little bit on the ballpark. I'm emptying trash. I'm cleaning dugouts. Basically, Jonathan, it's all hands on deck, and we do whatever needs to be done to make this go. So it's really a all-encompassing responsibility.
I want to talk a little bit more about signing players. Now, Clipper culture, I think, is something that's really been established, at least my time here, over these last couple of summers. And, the chemistry that gets created throughout the dugouts, I think is quite essential because, essentially you're assembling a summer friend group. What do you look for in a player when, you're in the offseason selection showcase, if you will?
Yeah. Well, obviously, the first thing is there has to be a baseline of talent. So, I mean, we need players that are highly skilled. I mean, we make no apologies for trying to win games. So, certainly one of the goal on the field is to win the Great Lakes League Championship, and that never changes. Um, Part of our role here, excuse me, is to help the young men develop, hasten their development. And I don't think you can do that unless you're in a highly competitive environment. Um, and so anyway, that's one thing we're looking for. Secondly, I try to vet them as best I can. We want young men of high character. Uh, we rely heavily on host families, and I can, in good conscience, put somebody into somebody's home for 8 weeks if they're not young men of character. And we've been blessed with the types of kids that we've brought in here. And then I think somebody that is a great teammate, and that's really really important. And I told my teams when I was coaching, and I would tell these guys that nobody here who you share that dugout with cares how good a player you are, but they do care deeply how good a teammate you are. So I think that's really, really important. Uh, we need to create, even if it's a 2 month summer season or a much lengthier spring season, there has to be a culture of selflessness rather than selfishness. So you got to have kids that will buy into that. We've been just blessed with tremendous kids who have gotten along well, who have been easy to coach, and so we're very, very grateful of that.
Yeah, I think it holds true, especially from what I've seen with the teams, not only at Marsh Field, but on the road as well. And I think those road trips in particular, which are very frequent for the Clippers being in such a geographic outlying location, if you will. And that's another point I want to get to because, it's a new year of the league and we got some new competition. The Flag City Sluggers are in the division. And I just want to get your brief thoughts on the new format for the league, which involves the splitting of the league in a North and South division.
Yeah, I mean, I like the divisional play, although to be perfectly honest, it's a balanced schedule. We're playing everybody, whether they're in the division or out of the division, equal number of times. Everybody, we're playing 6 times and three away and three on the road. So we're going to visit every city, be it North Division or South Division. But I still do like a divisional setup. It gives 4 teams still the opportunity to get into the playoffs. The top 2 teams will qualify. So I do like it. We're thrilled to have Flag City, which by the way is in Findlay, Ohio, join us. I do wish we could add a couple of more teams, preferably in the state of Michigan, to cut down some of our travel and in doing so reduce some of the cost of operation because everything is skyrocketing: transportation, hotels, food, you name it, just like everywhere, those things are going up. So it puts a bigger burden on our organization to try to offset that with additional revenues, which we're working hard on. And that's why I spent most of the day yesterday out and about trying to uh, ask people for support.
Which, by the way, fans, if you know of anyone or know a company that would love to sponsor the Clippers, check out the Facebook and Instagram pages about the promotional packages, all included. So
Yeah.
there's a little.
They could go to muskegonclippers.com. There's a tab for sponsors. Go to that. You can make a donation through a patron ad, or if you're a business owner, a program ad, or one of our packages. So I hate to solicit funds here, but it's certainly important. We can't operate without some help.
And I think it's going to touch a few more hearts hearing it from you face to voice rather than reading something. So there's a little piece of advertisement out there. Now let's talk a little bit more about the X's and O's side of things. And one of the challenges when playing summer baseball, and you've identified this as a goal for every player, is to get everyone back home healthy. Well, as a lot of Clipper fans know, a season ago, finding healthy players was difficult just because of the amount of unfortunate injuries that do tend to strike organizations. Now, for you, describe what it's like to find a player last minutes in time for a game, because that's something that you yourself had to accomplish last year. And to be quite frank, you did a great job at.
Well, I appreciate that, but you know as well as anybody that our roster last year was a revolving door. In fact, when I finished the roster in late fall, I think there were 16 players who were on the original roster that had to leave us for one reason or another, but most of them injury. So it's very tough, and especially in the area of pitching. As I said a moment ago, we've already lost 3 arms to each of them are having a labrum surgery, and that's alarming to me. It's disappointing. It's discouraging. Um, So I'm back out there trying to find replacements. The position players are a little bit easier. I'm still getting calls about position players, but we do have more attrition when it comes to the pitching staff. But part of that too is that, we are very cognizant of the fact that we have to be careful with these players. These guys are, for the most part, on loan to us. So we are never, ever going to push a pitcher when, he may not be feeling well, whether he's got a little soreness or tenderness or whatever the case might be. We're going to be ultra careful with that player. And then, you also have pitchers now. Last year, we had a few that came in that only wanted to throw for a half a season. That's becoming a bit more of a trend. So it can be difficult to fill those holes, but you just work at it, and you hope you find somebody that'll come in and sort of be the next man up, as they say.
Yeah, and the next man up mentality really helped the Clippers last year propel their way into the playoffs and ultimately to the Great Lakes Summer Collegiate League Championship round, which, I mean, that's where the injuries could visibly be seen catch up to the organization as the Hamilton Joes were able to claim the title. Now, these last couple of years have been an upward trend, though, for the Clippers. You had the incredible 33-5 season in 2023. Last year was a bit more scrappy for the wins, if you will, but all hopes were in the championship round. Now, what are the expectations going into 2025 as the organization looks at this upwards trajectory?
Well, obviously the goal's the same. That is to win it. Expectations, Jonathan, you just never quite know uh, what we're going to have until the kids show up. I'm very confident that on paper, the roster we have is very, very talented, very athletic. I think there's a nice mix of speed, power, guys that can change the game with one swing. Defensively, I think it looks very, very good, but I haven't seen them. I've watched some video of these guys. I've taken coaches' recommendations. I've spoke to the players, but the expectations are high. I think could be the most talented team we've had yet. But it's not easy to win games in this league. Everybody is thinking the same thing. And every night it's a battle. I wouldn't have it any other way. So the expectations are high, but I think I say this to the kids just about every year, and I'll say it to them again this year. We're playing 42 games, and if we went, let's say 10-32, I'd be really disappointed. But in a broader view, if players told me that, coming to Muskegon was a mistake, I didn't have a good experience here, I wouldn't recommend you to anybody else, I'd be devastated. So I think when I look at it again in a broader view, our goal is certainly to win, but we want to provide the players with the very best experience we can. We want them to go back to their respective schools and tell their coaches that I had a great summer, that Muskegon's a great place to play. They become our best ambassadors. As they go back, they tell their friends and teammates who in the spring season that, you guys should go to Muskegon. We're treated well. The atmosphere is great. It's a well-run operation. That's what's really, really important to me. Even maybe more so than winning the championship. That's, and I know Pete would agree with me.
Well, as the Clippers, keep getting their feet wet in the Great Lakes League, which, I mean, they're still relatively new members when you look back to the late 2010s. And now we're starting to see some of the talent fully on display, not just at the college level, but in the pros. The big name that comes to mind is Blake Dunn. Let's talk about him for a second. I know we've been talking about the expectations of the upcoming season, but how does that feel to see the work that you put into this organization be a chapter in that young man's baseball career? I can still say young man because he's got a long career ahead of him, it seems.
Well, honestly, I mean, the Clippers' role in Blake's development was probably, this much. Not much, but Blake was, one of the most. I had the good fortune to be the head coach at the time, and I think he's one of the. As a scout asked me one time to talk about Blake Dunn, I told him I think he's the most one of the most competitive kids I've ever seen. And tremendous young man. He's on the field, and he is a tremendous competitor. And as much as we'd like to take some credit for the fact that he ended up in the big leagues, we can't. But we're so very grateful that we had the opportunity to have him here in Muskegon for 8 weeks and have the fans of the greater Muskegon area watch him play. Sometimes we don't appreciate necessarily what we have, but there's some awfully good players that come through this area. And it was exciting to have Blake, and I'm hoping there's going to be some more guys that play here that find their way into the big leagues. And, they all aspire to be there. It would be great if a few more could realize that dream and that goal.
And hey, Clipper fans, that's another reason to come out to Marsh Field. You're seeing potential future stars in the game of baseball, all in the best kept secrets in the state of Michigan, Muskegon. I got one final question for you, Walton. I remember last year asking, should and will the Dodgers win the World Series due to all of the big time money that they were spending and deferring? Now, you can speak on the Detroit Tigers' behalf. I'll be sure to ask a bunch of Michigan baseball fans this as well. But how big are the open arms for Jack Flaherty returning to Detroit after claiming a
Well, I'll
title?
speak for myself, but when I found out that they had signed Jack Flaherty, I was ecstatic. And that was followed by a few days of mourning once Alex Bregman decided to go to the Red Sox, because he was trending every single day on Twitter or X or whatever they call it now. So I spent a lot of time trying to wait for that announcement. So I did think that, and there's differing opinions on him, whether or not it was wise or not to not offer a long-term deal. But I looked at him as being the missing piece, and it sure would have been nice to have him in Detroit. But looking forward to the major league season. It's exciting. Monday, everybody reports, and it just lifts your spirits when baseball gets here. Even today with the college teams playing, I've been on ESPN most of the day. ESPN Plus, by the way. But
Yeah,
anyway, yeah. And was I right about the Dodgers?
yes, you were.
Okay. I want to get that out and on the public record. That's all, because I'm rarely right, Jonathan. So I just would like that out there.
Well, again, it is baseball season, and Clipper fans, you can keep track of the current and former Clippers who are getting their college seasons underway, for a lot of them playing in the Florida leagues. I know Brandon Shire is set to make his debut with the Cincinnati Bearcats. And what's kind of cool is my childhood neighbor is a part of the pitching staff of Cincinnati now. So he'll get to coach Brandon Shire in the Big 12 Conference. But Walt, thank you for your time today. It's been fun talking to you about baseball, and we're going to see a lot of baseball in between now and the summer. That's when the real baseball heaven begins in Muskegon.
Right. Just one final thought, Jonathan. All the people listening out there, you want to follow the Clippers, please go to our Facebook page, Instagram. We got news on there just about every day, a post. We're previewing some players. I know you're going to have some additional interviews coming up. So keep us in mind. We'll look forward to seeing you. I'm thrilled you're back. I know the Clipper fans in Muskegon are too, and looking forward to getting that ballpark ready for some summer collegiate baseball.
That was Walt Gawkowski, the Clippers general manager. And Clipper fans, we thank you all for tuning into this preseason content video of Clipper Chats. And thank you all for tuning in one more time. And as always, we will see you next time.